Donald Trump takes a verbal shot at Senator Rand Paul and Congressman Thomas Massie, both of Kentucky, both Republicans. And Rand Paul's father, former Republican Senator Ron Paul, doesn't like it and is chirping back. Let's discuss. I'm Dave Aronberg, former state attorney for Palm Beach County, a.k.a. the Florida LawMan, here on Legal AF, where we meet at the intersection of law and politics. Let's discuss the latest inter-MAGA fight. Intra-MAGA fight. Either way, you've got a MAGA fight on your hand, another civil war within the party. Former presidential candidate Ron Paul, remember him? The libertarian who was a right-wing Republican who's the father of Rand Paul. Well, he responded on Monday after President Donald Trump called his son, Senator Rand Paul, a nasty little guy. According to Mediaite, Trump attacked Paul and Representative Thomas Massie in a Truth Social post over the weekend, throwing insults at the two men for not sufficiently voting in support of the Republican Party's agenda. Quote, whatever happened to, quote, Senator Rand Paul? He was never great, but he went really bad, all caps, wrote Trump. I got him elected twice, all caps, in the great Commonwealth of Kentucky. But he just never votes positively for the Republican Party. He's a nasty little guy. Interesting spelling of the word little. Much like Congressman, in quotes, Thomas Massie, a.k.a. Rand Paul Jr., also of Kentucky, which I won 3 times in massive landslides. Well, it is a very red state. A sick wacko who refuses to vote for our great Republican Party, MAGA, or America First. It's really weird. Well, Rand Paul and Thomas Massie didn't really fire back strongly against Trump, but Rand Paul's father did. Ron Paul wrote, in an hysterical rant over the weekend, President Trump has blasted Representative Thomas Massie and Senator Rand Paul as a couple of wackos who refused to vote with the Republican Party. Meanwhile, President Trump has just announced that his first in-person fundraiser of the election cycle will be for ... Lindsey Graham. Okay, well, that's a twofer. That's a shot at Trump, and that's a shot at Lindsey Graham. You can see this inter-fighting that's going on now. This should not just be ignored, because this is part of a larger MAGA civil war. We've seen it with Laura Loomer and Marjorie Taylor Greene. We see this even lately with Ted Cruz seemingly finding his voice and going after Trump a little bit. At least now he's discussing how we have to take the No Kings protest seriously, how it expresses some real sentiment in the country. And he also was critical of Trump when Trump got Jimmy Kimmel taken off the air. So there's a lot of stuff bubbling under the surface. And of course, most Republicans will just feel that way and express that way in private. They won't speak up because they want to keep their jobs and they know their party is still a party of one. There's that old adage, Democrats fall in love, Republicans fall in line. And the co-host of Ron Paul's podcast, where he talked about this stuff and bashed Trump, said, honestly, Dr. Paul, this is not even a junior high level rant on the part of President Trump, and it's honestly hard to read this and believe, and I had to double check it, to believe that the person who wrote this is the President of the United States of America, said co-host Daniel McAdams, who called Trump's boast about getting Senator Paul elected an, quote, absolute bold-faced lie. After McAdams called Trump's post disgusting, Ron Paul replied, it isn't very encouraging, before adding that there were a lot of things going on that's not very healthy for our republic. In this little rhino war, that stands for Republican in name only, the people making the biggest charges against Rand and Thomas are the ones that are doing it. But that is a big hurdle to go over, he continued. You see what Thomas has done over his terms in office, and it hasn't hurt him. So the big question is, can one person come along and reverse the opinion of all the rest? McAdams remarked, honestly, if I didn't know Trump was a teetotaler, I would wonder if he was up late at night, couple of whiskeys, and then lets it all hang out, you know? I mean, it almost looks like that. I don't know. Maybe the hamburgers got to him? Paul ended the show by questioning, where is MAGA heading? And which direction are we going in? Are we going to be going to more government or less government? More liberty or less? We're not supposed to run a government like criminals on the street, he concluded. Wow. It's always the ones, though, who are out of office, who are the ones to speak up the most. Once you're in office, they usually just cower in quiet. And also, when it comes to the legislative branch, you have a legislative branch supposed to be co-equal, supposed to have checks and balances. And yet, for the first time in history, the legislative branch has emasculated itself, has silenced itself, has refused to exert its power, and has instead given all its power to the executive branch. And you wonder how long that's going to last. Well, I think it's going to last until November of next year, when the Democrats could and should win back the House. That would put a huge damper on Trump's agenda. But until then, the people who are most outspoken continue to be people who are on the sidelines, continue to be people who are retired, who left politics. Let's see if this moves over to people who are currently elected. I mentioned Senator Ted Cruz and how he is starting to speak up more because he wants to run for president, and he sees that Trump's numbers are underwater. He sees that MAGA is still highly controversial. So he's trying to cut his own path, it looks like. According to the Daily Beast, firebrand Texas Senator Ted Cruz has implored his party to wake up to the dangers posed by an estimated 7 million people turning out in protest against the Donald Trump administration. Unquestionably, we should take political peril seriously, Cruz told Bloomberg Television. There's a lot of energy, there's a lot of anger on the left, and elections can be dangerous when one side is mobilized, is angry. Well, I think he's right. I think those protests, do show an energy out there, and we'll see soon enough. We'll see in the election in Virginia. That's always a bellwether. See what happens to the governor's race there. And then 2026 will be upon us sooner than you think. And we'll keep following it here every step of the way on Legal AF. We're meet at the intersection of law and politics. And if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button. Thank you for all your support. I'm Dave Aronberg, a.k.a. the Florida LawMan, and I'll see you next time.
Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.